Hey, welcome back to the MindShare podcast. This is season 6. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a 2-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals. REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. And OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Canada's largest provincial real estate association. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the details and get yourself registered for our annual MindShare Mastermind, taking place May 26th through the 29th in person in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec. Plus, be sure to download your free copy of our MindShare 101 goal-setting worksheet, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 275. He is one man on one motorcycle on one mission. An award-winning speaker, writer, and Harley-Davidson LIFE member, he is also managing partner of Foster+Fathom, a leadership and goodness development group in Dallas, Texas. He knows firsthand, on a bike or in business, success requires creating opportunities for people to connect to an idea, engage in a shared interest, and inspire others to join the ride. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is award-winning speaker, writer, Stephen G. Foster. Stephen, welcome to the MindShare podcast.
David, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. Love that we're connecting today, and love that fellow biker is going to spend a little time with me today. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Look, I appreciate you being here. We've got a podcast going. It's great content. I'm sure it's going to be, and it helps us keep consistency with our show. But I do have to say, I would much rather be on a bike right now with you, right? Like two separate bikes, that just whatever, but you get it.
I do get it. I don't know what the weather's like in Toronto today, but it's sunny and 70 in Dallas. So, come on down.
Here we go, rubbing it in, man. I mean, listen, we had the first day of spring just the other day, but we got snow last night. Things are still confusing up here. But that's the country we're living in right now. I guess you could argue that across North America things are quite confusing, but we'll leave that for another conversation.
Absolutely.
So, in your bio, you quote Thomas Edison saying he said it best: "If we did all the things we are capable of, we would astound ourselves. And not just that, we would change ourselves and change the world." See, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to our audience when we say that?
Well, it's a great quote, isn't it?
It really is, actually.
I love it because I recently saw one of your podcast episodes, and you asked, what do people really want at the end of their life? And it was time. And I think that quote speaks so eloquently to what's most important in our lives. It's time and how we spend it, and who we spend it with, and why we spend it with them. And so for me, I think whether you're whatever business that you're in, it's time consuming. You've got to put a lot in as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And that's important. That's how you become successful. But you can't forget that that's just one slice of the clock. And finding the time to engage in the larger community, where you live, where you work, where you play, where you meet, so important. So had they been invented back in 1776, I'm pretty sure OTJ had been riding motorcycles, because he certainly had that motorcycle mentality. Enjoy the ride. Be fully immersed in what you're doing. Yes, experience the road, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But just know, man, it's about the ride. It's not about the destination. It's the journey.
We get caught up in that too much, don't we? And thank you for tuning into that episode. I know I couldn't even tell you which episode that is, because I'll tell you, when we talk about time is one of these foundational topics for me. And Stephen, look, years ago, it wasn't something that I focused on. It wasn't something I even knew maybe that I needed to focus on. And I think that many of us, just as you've just said, many of us just don't. And we end up getting so caught up in getting to the destination that we really do forget to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And coming from a fellow, motorcycle enthusiast, you and I understand that right to the core. And I would argue that it's not a difficult concept, yet because of how much there is to do in a day, because of we're all trying to grow a business, we're all trying to, potentially run a family and in some way, shape, or form enjoy life, you kind of miss what's
Mhm.
going on right there in front of you in the moment.
Yeah.
It's so important to take advantage of those moments.
Yeah, I think that, we and it's natural. So first of all, if you're at the front end of your career or you're in the middle or wherever you are, and you know that you're spending a ton of time on the business, right? On the job, doing the thing that you're passionate about. Give yourself a little grace, right? I mean, there are tons of books on time management, but none of them really tell you the most important thing, which is this: you have to be intentional about your day.
Mhm.
And however you do that, some people, set a calendar and alarms go off and they go, okay, I'm done and I'm doing this. But, you know, you're just better when you step away from the grind, and it can be, and just go do something you love to do. Go hang out with people that you love to be with. Go meet some new people. Go attend, listen to a podcast. Take that intentional time to step away from the grind and the grit, and enjoy it. Because again, I'm gonna go back to that podcast that you had on, the time, that was just so relevant, and it spoke to me at the time because I had been dealing with some loss and I was trying to figure out how to sort of regroup and get back on the bike. And the answer was, you'll get back on the bike when it's time to get back on the bike. Take some time for yourself, take some time for the people that you love, and that love you. Take some time to refuel that tank, because I promise you, you're gonna ride hard this year, wherever you're going. But at some point this year, I can promise you a few things. One, the wheels are going to come off.
Mhm.
And the second thing I can promise you is the tank's going to get low.
Mhm.
And you will not be successful. You will not reach your destination. And you certainly won't enjoy it if you don't take that time off the bike to just settle in, take a breath, go for a walk, read a book. Like I said, tune into the MindShare podcast,
Yeah.
but do something that refuels that tank. We all need it.
I like what you say there about being intentional. Is there anything you do specifically? If I said to you, what do you do to be intentional about your day? Is there one certain thing you do?
There are a couple things I do,
Okay.
and most of the most intentional success strategies are not from me, they're from external. First of all, I'm married, and my wife makes sure I get off the bike. She makes sure that I try to take care of my health, that I spend time with the family. She's constantly pushing me to, hey, go hang out with the guys. Maybe you need to, maybe you need to get out of town for a weekend and go on a ride. So I do have the support system,
Yeah.
but I'm very fortunate. I work with some amazing people, longtime industry colleagues and friends, and we just spend a lot of time. We'll go to lunch together, or we'll say, "Hey, let's go down to the gun range. Let's go shoot today. Let's go blow some stuff up."
Yep.
We're always looking for the fun. You'll appreciate this, so because you ride motorcycles, so
Mhm.
you know that when we're riding, and especially if we're riding with a club or a chapter, we're fully geared up. We're wearing our cut, which your audience would understand better as a vest, and we have these things called rockers.
Yep.
And the rockers are given to us by the people who go on the ride, and they're much like business cards, if you will. It's a name that's given to you based on an experience that you were part of on a ride. And early on in one of my rides, someone gave me a rocker, and it says "the fun boss." And,
That's a cool one.
and I love that one because I said, "Well, the fun boss." And she said, "Yeah, because you were always making sure that wherever we were going, we had time to stop and experience a point along the way. We learned something about the destination. It wasn't always just ride, 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 ride." So I try to just remind myself that as the fun boss, I have to keep the fun going. That's for myself as well. So I just, I'm okay to step away from work. I'm okay to tell a client, I don't do a phone call before 10 a.m. Central Standard Time because I want to go work out or I want to go have breakfast with a friend. So finding those touch points that take me out of my space here at Foster and Fathom is good for me, man. It feeds my soul. It makes me a better entrepreneur. It makes me a better teammate. It makes me a better husband and father. And I'd like to think it makes me a better person.
And I could see all the reasons and all the ways how that exactly happens. And again, it's so imperative. I do believe, and if you listen to that episode, it's not about time management. We cannot manage time, but we can empower time to help manage us. And by doing so, we can get a lot more done. Now, in saying getting things more things done, from what I understand from you is you're very involved with, giving back. There's a focus on giving back. And I guess the question becomes, what are you involved in? And why do you feel that this is such an important way to spend your time? And why should anybody listening think the same way?
Well, you landed right in the sweet spot. So thank you for that. I'll take you on a little ride with me here. First and foremost, I'm a military kid. I was born on an Air Force base in California. My father was in the Air Force. My oldest brother was a career Army officer. My uncle was in the Navy. My grandfather was in the Coast Guard. I grew up in and around the military and saw the service that military veterans, active duty military families give to the nation, to one another, and to their community. And every day they got up and did something that was part of their day. But I think it's definitely part and parcel of what you and I are talking about right now. And they laced up their boots every morning before they went out the door. Airmen, guardsmen, Marines, soldiers, sailors laced their boots up. And that simple act of watching that happen reminded me how intentional it was that they suited up to get ready to go do the work that they were about to do. For me, that translates beautifully into my work in the nonprofit space. So I've always enjoyed, and it's one of the ways that I take intentional time away from work. I try to give back in the community. I'm aligned, our company's aligned right now with over 100 nonprofits across the country to help them raise funds, build force multipliers in the terms of volunteers, to grow their brand. And I tell all the businesses that I work with, listen, you can do all of the strategies and the meetings and provide all the resources, but at the end of the day, if you want to make your employees happy, if you want to make sure that they stick around, they're loyal, if you want to make sure that they are passionate and enthusiastic brand ambassadors, then you've got to provide them opportunities to engage with the communities where they live, work, and meet, right? So taking the time to go volunteer at a food bank or drop off some supplies at a homeless shelter or create an event. And I know many of your listeners are in real estate. They've got companies, they've got employees, they're doing what they're doing. Man, you will never build a better brand for yourself than aligning your company and your employees on regular activations in the charitable space. And this isn't about feeling good, by the way. Does it feel good? You bet it does. Bet it does.
Yep.
It's about doing good, because doing good makes good business sense. Read the latest issue of Forbes magazine. Look at the most recent video from Fortune. Employees want to align themselves with companies that are considered good corporate citizens, that are actually putting their money where their mouth is. And it's not all about the money. It's about what you and I were just talking about, David. It's about time. You don't have to write a big check. You don't have to write a check at all. Many nonprofits need volunteer time. They need people to come and contribute an hour, a half a day, whatever it is. Make it part of your culture. The most successful companies, all of the companies on the Fortune 100 best places to work, have what I call a culture of goodness. They have regularly scheduled activations where they step away from the work.
Do we get paused over here? Stephen, you might have a bad connection on that end, my friend. We'll get you to get that fixed up. But
And it's
there you
powerful.
are.
And if you want, are we back?
Yeah, we were just you sort of stalled for a sec, the sound, the audio, but this is technology. We're live. It's all good. We got you there though. You know, I think what you're saying is super important for everybody to pick up on. Because I was going to ask you that question, right? How does this support our business endeavors? And as you're saying it, you're getting involved in the community. You're doing good, and as you do good, I do believe that as you do good, you shall receive good. Does the world and the universe always work that way? Definitely not. However, giving back is a strong part of creating that inertia, that good energy that I believe will attract more good energy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You can use any of the analogies you want to.
Yep.
You drop the stone in the water and the ripples go out. But
Yep. There you go.
at the end of the day, we live in a really interesting time. There is so much division. There's so much disruption. There's so much disconnect. I like to say we're more connected technologically now than at any time in the history of the world, but we're less in touch.
Yep.
And that's because we're not taking the time to connect one-on-one and build those relationships that our grandparents and our parents were so good about, that were part of what we did growing up. It's just important. And every metric that you want to measure, it can tie itself back to building those connections in the community and doing good in the community.
Well, I'm going to take an opportunity here for a moment. To those of you that are tuned in that are in Ontario specifically, and I don't want to, alienate anybody else, but we've got Stephen, last year I had the opportunity to ride with a group up here. They are they're called the Ontario Realtors Care Foundation. And what they do is they offer up opportunities to members of the Real Estate Association to, do anything like you just said, go to the food bank or do your own event or anything that's going to raise money, raise awareness, and help raise money for shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to do a motorcycle ride with them last year. It was a 2-day ride, absolutely fantastic. Met a lot of people. We raised a lot of money, raised a lot of awareness. And I would say the same, that getting involved in the ride for me, did it attract me because of the motorcycle? 1,000,000%, right? 1,000,000%. That's exactly why for me, I was like, oh, I'm interested in that event. Then you say, well, what's the goal of the event? Is it to ride? Well, that's what we're doing. But the goal is awareness. The goal is to give back. The goal is to support people. Now you look and say, wow, I can go do something I love and I can help a lot of people while I'm doing it and get to meet a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
This is a win-win-win all across the board.
Yeah.
And as you sit here a year removed, the ride is coming up again in September. We've already been talking about what else is going on. And I just joined this thing. They've been around for a number of years now.
Yeah.
So it's, again, the Ontario Realtors Care Foundation, a fantastic way to get involved, a fantastic way to connect with people, a way to give back. And it's very much to what you're saying. Now, I asked you this offline, but just for everybody, and I don't even know if everybody's going to understand, but what kind of bike do you ride? How long have you been riding for?
Well, I've been riding for over 50 years. I got
50.
Yeah, 50.
Wow.
I'm 68. So, I got my first mini bike, I think when I was 7.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. I went, okay, hey, well, the Schwinn went the way of one of the brothers got it. I went, no. I'm doing motorcycles. So, but I ride a Harley-Davidson Street Glide. I also have a Dyno Wide Glide that I don't ride as much, but I just love the bike. But you know what? This is the thing that I love about what you and I are passionate about motorcycles is you can spend all day talking about the motorcycle brands. I'm a Harley guy. I think you're a Harley guy, but
yes,
but it doesn't matter. BMW, Honda, Suzuki, Indian, pick your brand of 2 wheels. Those of us who live in the two-wheel world, we understand that's a community. That's a
Yep.
community of people that enjoy riding. They enjoy, again, the journey. They enjoy going to fun places, meeting different people. And that speaks so well to the ride that you did for charity is you don't have to ride motorcycles. Whatever you enjoy doing, it could be playing music, it could be running, it could, whatever it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
There's a community right where you live that you can connect with, and you can enjoy your shared passions. You can do something to align with a charity and create the brand awareness, and you can fold your companies into it. And now you've built the word that I like. You've built tribe, and a tribe shows up good, bad, or indifferent. Right? It doesn't matter if it's snowing in Vancouver or sunny in Texas. Somebody says, "Hey, you want to ride?
Yeah.
We're going to go."
Yeah.
And that's so important.
It really is. Here, you something else I caught about you. You had done well, I was going to ask you, tell us about this solo motorcycle ride that you did around the perimeter of the US. Because when I heard that, I got to tell you, on my bucket list here, and I live in Toronto, and you can sort of see the geography. I'd like to essentially do the perimeter of North America. Okay. And I want to get out to the West Coast, come down the Sea to Sky, pass through your neck of the woods, come around, go down, Florida, come back around through the Carolinas. And, that's on the bucket list. But you did this solo motorcycle ride. Can you just share a little bit about what the experience was there, and maybe even some of the opportunities you had to meet people along the way?
Sure. No, I'm happy to talk about what became known as the full throttle leadership ride.
There you go.
I'll start at the beginning. As a biker, we have a couple of bucket list items. Go to the big rallies, go to Sturgis, maybe go to the Four Corners. But sort of the granddaddy in the U.S. Motorcycle ride is what's called the perimeter ride, and it literally requires that you ride the entire perimeter of the United States. And you never get more than 30 miles off the perimeter. So next time you look at the map of the United States, you can see how tricky that can be. That's pretty easy down along the coast, not so easy along the international boundary with your country. So it started out, quite frankly, as a bucket list. A couple of guys, at one time it was about 12. We kept saying, let's do this ride. Let's do the perimeter ride. We can get it done probably in 30 days. We're going to have to move, but let's do it. So we planned it. And just as you would think, life intrudes. And it just kept being pushed off. And it was something that we ended up talking a lot more about than actually planning. And then I met a great veterans nonprofit organization in Texas called the Boot Campaign. The Boot Campaign is focused on wellness, recovery, and reintegration of our veterans, our military service members, when they leave the service and integrate into the civilian life. And the work they do in the wellness space is amazing. I found out about them because a friend of mine introduced me to a book. I love history. And he said, you got to read this book. It's called Lone Survivor. I read it. And I found out later that the Boot Campaign was founded by these 5 women who read that book and said, let's give back. So we started to talk about, can we take this ride and turn it into a fundraiser and make it about not 12 guys out having fun? Yes, we were going to do that. Yes, we were going to have some adult beverages. Yes, we were going to see some cool places. But can we create awareness along the way and give back to military families and veterans? So we made all of that align, and we put a date on the calendar. And then the closer that we got to planning this 34-day, 32-state, 13,000-mile ride, guys started to drop off. 12 went to 10, 10 went to 7, 7 went to 5, and you kind of know where it's going. And literally, David, 48 hours out, my last guy called and said,
no,
I can't do it.
No.
Can't. Yeah. So
he's the last guy. What was his excuse? You're like, dude, it's just you and me.
All of them use the same excuse. I bet you can guess what it is. My wife won't
I
let
was
me
about
go.
to say my
My
wife.
wife won't let me go. Meantime, my wife, Wendy, you know what she was saying?
Go,
You want to be
enjoy.
gone for 40 days? Go.
Yeah.
Take 60. Have fun.
Do you know anytime I do a
So
ride like that? Forgive me. We do a ride like that. I leave. I go to kiss Jennifer goodbye. I say, I'm just going to get some milk. I'll be right back. 3 weeks later, you come home,
yeah,
pull
you
into,
come
you know,
up.
she's
Yeah.
got the driveway open. She's hanging outside with the kids, waiting for me to pull in the
Yeah.
drive. She looks at me. She goes, "Where's the milk?"
Where's the milk? Yeah. Oh gosh. Let me go right back out and get it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I
So
said to her. I said, "Oh, I'll be right back."
I'll be right back. I got to go get it. So again, 48 hours out, and it's just me. It's the Lone Ranger. Now I've done a lot of rides in 50 years. I've never attempted a solo ride of this magnitude.
Wow.
And think about it. You're riding the entire perimeter. But here's the beautiful thing about it. At that point, had that ride just been about the guys going, the easiest thing in the world for me to do would go, nah, that's a little too dangerous.
Right.
I don't know if I want to do that. But because we had already aligned it with the boot campaign and we had already set up the fundraising drive and we had set events and appearances along the way, I couldn't back out, even if I wanted to back out, and I didn't. But even it had my, at that time, 50-year-old brain said, yes, this is different, Stephen. You want to think about it. I went, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it because somewhere today, somewhere in the country or somewhere around the world, there's a soldier, a sailor, a guardsman, a marinesman who are lacing up their boots and they're going to go do really hard stuff. And at the end of the day, you're riding a motorcycle. So let's go. And I got to tell you, it was the best experience because I had a schedule.
Yeah.
I had places I had to be. But if I got some messaging or on social media or I got invited to veer off course, I could do it.
Yep.
And because of that, the ride was so much more successful. I met some amazing people along the way. We raised some money and we created awareness at a time when we were still, as a country, very much involved in active combat operations in the Middle East. And it was an amazing experience. And that ride has been over now for almost 10 years. And I'm still connected to people that I met on that ride. We still reach out, we still talk. So in addition to all of the amazing places in our country that I saw from, from the southernmost point in Key West to riding up along the international boundary with the U.S. and Canada to coming down US 1 through the Redwoods, riding to the Gulf Coast, Niagara Falls, all of those natural wonders and beautiful places in the country. It was the people that I met.
Yeah.
I met him in gas stations and road stops and diners. I met him in hotels. I met him at events. And
I was going to say that.
Yeah, they were telling me stories of, and most of them had some connection to the military. They had just recently retired. I met a guy, a father. By the way, a motorcycle is the best icebreaker in the world because if you pull up on a motorcycle anywhere, people are going to come over. Know this.
They want to see it. They want to talk about it. They want to ask you questions.
Where you going? Going to get a picture.
Yeah.
I met a guy just outside San Diego. I stopped at one of those scenic overlooks where it said like 1 mile ahead, scenic overlook.
Yeah.
So I'm getting off the bike and I'm taking a picture of the Pacific Ocean. And this guy comes up. He's wearing a Harley t-shirt. And he said, hey, where are you coming from? Where are you going? And we're talking. And I'm telling him about the ride. I'm out here raising awareness. And David, he gave me the biggest bear hug. I don't think anyone other than my grandfather has ever given me a man hug like that. And he said to me, my son is deployed in Afghanistan right now. He's in a really dangerous part of the world. And the fact that you're a complete stranger and you're out here doing a ride and you're telling people that we have young men and young women serving in harm's way, because that means the most to me.
You just sent shivers through my body, man, because I could see the whole thing going down. I think that is so cool.
It was the just most genuine moment. And he reaches into his back pocket. He pulls his wallet out and he says, I'm going to give you gas money. I'm going to give you gas money. And I went, brother, you're not giving me gas money. I appreciate that. You've already given me and our country the most valuable thing you have. And it's not your wallet, it's your son.
That
Your
is
son
wild.
is serving for us. So you know what? God bless him. If I ever talk about this ride, I'm gonna tell people about this encounter. And we stayed in touch, and thank goodness his son came home and he was fine, and
Wow,
and
good
they're
stuff.
they're living their life in San Diego. But that was, that was such a big part of what became known as the Full Throttle Leadership Ride. And just because I have the time, and I know you won't care, and I'll do a little shameless plug, that ride became a book on leadership. And here's your copy, David, and it's coming your way. I've already autographed
Nice.
it, dropping in
Yeah.
the mail to you.
Looking
So
forward to that,
it's
my
a book
friend. Thank
about
you.
leadership, but it's also a book about that ride, and it
Cool.
makes connections to lessons about leadership and service and community that I've learned over 50 years riding motorcycles. But that was an amazing ride. People ask me what I remember most about it, and I will tell you, it was when I got home, how much my butt hurt, because
Yeah.
that's a long time in the saddle, my brother.
I can double down on that, man. I know the feeling, and I got to say that I'm sure, and I imagine you just told a story about one of the people and some of the people that you met, but I'm sure you met, even tons more. And I know firsthand when you do rides like that, especially those long rides, um, you'll find yourself in the middle of nowhere. You will often come up on somebody else who's probably doing something similar in terms of a ride,
Hmm.
a total stranger, but there is that, like we said, immediate connection.
Hmm.
You have a coffee, you talk about an adventure, you talk about where you've been, where you're going. You go your separate ways when you leave. You're back on the road again. It is just the most special thing. Again, the way I look at it, it is a very cool moment. It's hard to describe to people that don't understand. Now, in business, we're always searching for more people.
Hmm.
And as we talk about meeting people, we are in business looking for more people to do business with, total strangers that we ultimately would like to stay in touch with. Yet, if they're not our people, oftentimes, because there's no connection, we either don't stay in touch or we have nothing to truly discuss. So it makes the idea of staying in touch feel awkward, which evokes fear in many people. How do we find our tribe and fuel our ride? And what does it mean to do it with passion, power, and purpose?
Well, again, I'm gonna go back to one of your most recent podcasts I was watching, and you were talking
He's
about,
good, eh, guys? He's really good.
doing business with the people that you know, and then those people that you don't know, and how do you turn the don't knows into the knows. And I have to tell you that we've covered this ground, and it's, you build more false force multipliers to your tribe, to your people, when you're stepping outside of what you do in this box and go do the thing that you love to do, because there are a lot of people that you don't know. Listen, there's a ton of people that you and I don't know that love to ride motorcycles.
Yep, for sure.
We never met one of them in our office. Not one of them. We met them on the road doing what we love to do. So it is about putting yourself out there. It's about finding that space in your company to go do an event that gives back to a charity. And now you're supporting somebody else and you're building those relationships. And you start to have conversations, and you're from Canada and maybe they're from Canada, or they ride motorcycles or they play guitars. And now you went and did something that was meaningful to yourself. It improved your mental wellness. It gave back in the community. It built force multipliers, and you just added to your team. You added to your tribe. So you're not going. I'm not a big fan of cold calling. That's probably going to get me in a lot of trouble. I'd rather go to an event. I'd rather go to a conference like the one you've got coming up
Mhm.
and meet people. There's nothing better than being in the room where it happens. Thank you, Hamilton, the musical. You got to show up. You got to show up. And then put yourself out there. And you don't have to be the type A. You don't have to be the most, exuberant person. Just get in the room
You know,
and meet people, hand out a business card, tell them where you're from. Wear a cool shirt. It says, "Hey, David and I are wearing black today. We must have got the dress
yeah,
code memo. Hey, why'd you pick that shirt?" It's not that hard. We make you know meeting, networking so difficult. It's not. You did it every day when you went to school, from the first grade to all through elementary school. Just show up and hang out with your folks, learn something, put yourself out there. You'd be surprised how much people are attracted to people who are out there, they're doing stuff. We all want to be aligned with those passionate, powerful, purposeful people. And those are the three keys to building your business is, yeah, be passionate about what you do. Be powerful. And I don't mean but be authoritative. I mean,
Mhm.
learn the skills and capability that make you a better fill in the blank realtor, truck driver, banker, biker, whatever it is. And the last one is be purposeful about what you do. And what I mean by that is do something good. Take what you're passionate and powerful about and put it in service of people who are not as fortunate as you are. Listen, we are, I don't care where you live and who you are, you're blessed. You got a great life. You got people that love you and care about you. And if you're fortunate, you're doing something you love to do. Many people don't have that in their life. There are a lot
That's
of
right.
people that need our help. There's a lot of
That's
good
right.
you can do. And when you put it out there, it comes back and it just makes you better at what you do. It makes more people want to align with your brand. And quite frankly, it makes them want to spend more time with you. So it creates those other opportunities for you to grow the tribe and grow the ride.
Well, I was going to go there, right? Is that you say on a bike or in business, success requires creating opportunities for people to connect to an idea,
Mhm.
engage in a shared interest, and inspire others to join the ride.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of conversations over the past little while with people, especially in sales, who interestingly enough tell me that they're very introverted and they don't really do well in big crowds of people or talking to a lot of people. Now, part of my message there is you're in sales. You have to talk to people. If you want to have any type of success, you must talk to people. And if you
Hmm.
don't want to talk to people, you're in the wrong business. And I'm
Yeah.
a little bit harsh about that, but you know what? It's a blunt reality. The
Sure it is.
question, though, as we talk about this, how do I figure out what my ride is? That idea that I want to leverage to connect with more people. And again, setting the stage. For me, I know very easily. You tell me there's a motorcycle event, I see that it's for a good purpose. That's somewhere I want to be. You tell me there's something about dancing or, like you said, playing guitar. I don't dance and I like playing guitar. I love listening to people play guitar, but I can't play guitar. It's not going to attract me the same way. So if I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I want to meet more people, I do want to grow my business, I want to prospect more, but I don't know what my thing is. What would your advice be to that?
Well, I'd say take a look in the mirror and ask yourself this question. What is it that you know you love to do and you would do it if you didn't get paid to do it? You would do it if you weren't feeling 100%. You would do it no matter what because you just know that that feeds whatever that piece of you is, right? And again, it could be something external like motorcycling or playing music, but you've got to know what you're passionate about. And I remember growing up, and I wonder if your viewers had the same experience. You know, people would say like, well, well, go out there and find your passion. Right? Go find your passion. It's like it's hiding from you somewhere. You have to go on and locate
That's
it.
a good point.
I'm thinking, no, know what it is that you like to do and do it every day. That's how you find your passion. That's how you build your passion. What is it that you like to do? Go do that every day. By the way, it is easy to find people that love to do what you do. You and I, we're growing up. I grew up. Listen, I grew up before the age of the computers. We didn't have social media. It is so easy now to connect with the community through social media.
Right.
As I said, no matter what your industry is, every industry has a conference, has a conclave, has a gathering, has a meeting. You've got a big one coming up that you're hosting, you're producing. If you're listening to this podcast, get to that event because what you're going to find is the only thing you have to bring is yourself. Show up. And you do not have to be comfortable talking to 500 people or 200 or 100 or 30. But just get in a coffee line in the morning and talk to the person next to you while you're waiting on your frappa, mocha, laca, whatever you're
Yeah.
getting, right? And what you're going to find out is you probably have something in common with that person. And somebody's always waiting for the other guy to break the ice, right? So break the ice. Hey, how you doing? Where are you from? Go to a conference. They're all wearing name badges. It tells you their name and where they're from and their company.
Go
And
talk
if
to
you, man,
people.
if you can't network and build off of that, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be in in that
There,
industry.
there, there it
That's
is,
like
man.
low hanging fruit.
There it is. So you had referenced that, and again through the digging that I was doing on you, that thriving organizations, and I might even say, does this mean small business as well? But they run like a motorcycle club. Can you expand on this for us?
Man, you are hitting all my favorite questions. When I'm working with, it doesn't matter if it's a Fortune 100, it's a multinational, it could be a small family-owned business. I tell them that if you want to be successful, and now we're talking about organizational team development, then you got to run like a motorcycle club. So how does a motorcycle club run? If you don't ride, here's what it is. First of all, we know where we're going. We're in the process of planning to go somewhere. So we know where we're going. Then we know who's going, who we need to go along with us. We know the resources that we need to get there. We know what we plan to do along the way to make that engaging and sustainable. And finally, we know, well, why does it matter other than just doing the thing? So you've got to know where you're going. You've got to know where you want to go. And assuming you're not trying to make a solo ride like I did, remember that wasn't by choice. I had to. You need people to help you along the way. So, who are those people currently in your life or in the industry, or people that you need to meet that help just get you there? What other resources do you need to be successful? Whether that's equipment or whether that's knowledge based or whatever it might be, partnerships. And then again, the journey, the destination isn't a straight line. There are going to be a lot of zigs and zags. And trust me, there's going to be a ton of roadkill.
Yeah.
So, where are you going to stop along the way and assess where you are and where you need to be, where you thought you would be, and where you need to now pick up speed or slack off a bit? And at the end of the day, the last thing you do before you ever saddle up is ask yourself, why are we doing this? Why does this matter to anyone other than Stephen Foster, to me as the leader? And I tell every organizational leader, no matter what their hierarchy is, if leadership was easy, you wouldn't need all these other people. You just go do it yourself. You have to have time, talent, treasure, resources, people to make the journey successful. So that's that is
Yeah,
I
interesting
just
analogy.
described to you what every motorcycle runs on. It
Yeah,
runs on
yeah.
all of those things, and that's why it's sustainable, because now there are many pieces involved in the process here. There's always someone who's willing to step up to the next place in the pod, to take over some shared leadership, to bring some additional knowledge, to help do some training and capability. That's what a motorcycle is. That's how it runs. And that's how every successful organization, if you think of whatever your favorite company is right now, one of mine's Harley-Davidson. If you
Yeah.
think about Harley-Davidson as a company, that's how they run. They know where they're going. They know who's coming along with them. They know what they need to get there. They know where they're going to stop along the way and have these touch points of engagement. And they absolutely know why it matters.
It's a great analogy. I like the way you broke that down. I was interested in that one. I was curious to see how that would come out. So you brought up social media earlier as well a few minutes ago, and as we talked about connecting with people, right, and finding that tribe and the ride, and I get pushback from folks that, especially folks that like you and me, who were doing what we were doing prior to the social media boom, prior to all of that stuff. I get pushback from people of, I don't really want to share. I don't really want to post. I don't have the time. I don't know what to do. And maybe you just answered this, but I was going to ask you in terms of, strategies that you found successful. Like, what strategies have you found successful um, in bridging the gap between that online and that offline engagement to create that cohesive brand experience?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, and I get that too when I'm working with a lot of organizations. They're hypersensitive about their social media presence, mostly because I find it's not that they don't know how to do it, because most of us don't know how to do it. We aligned with professionals who help us do it. I do. Um, it's that there's all that other noise and that the ugly side of social media. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, listen, if you Listen, I follow you on social media. I look at your feed, or I look at what we post. Well, we're not really selling anything. We're telling a lot. We're telling great stories about other organizations. We're sharing information that you can use every day to be a better fill in the blank, whatever it is you're trying to do. So, most of what I direct people to do is tell your story of your brand, showcase your people, showcase the good work that you're doing in the community, showcase other thought leaders and influential people that you follow, so that what you're putting out into the ether is one, good, it's relevant, it's meaningful, and it's building people up. It's not tearing down. Listen, there's a ton of stuff on social media that, when I get the job of running the world, we won't have any of that negativity on social media. But I'm going to combat it right now every day by sharing the stories of organizations like the Boot Campaign that's making lives better for our veterans, or a nonprofit like Rainbow Angels, which is helping kids who are going through cancer treatment, or Operation Kindness, which is providing help and resources for pets in the communities. There's so much good that you can align your brand with. And oh yeah, there's also people that I like to learn from. So I'm constantly sharing um, podcasts and books and authors and events that I think people should, hey, if you pick up this book, tune in on this podcast, listen to that. I mean, this all feeds your soul, it feeds your mind, it
Yep.
feeds your
Yep.
spirit. It just makes you better.
Oh, it totally does. So you mentioned storytelling, and years ago, this was years ago. I was speaking to somebody, and he bluntly said to me at this point, it was a very good, constructive conversation. But he said to me, Dave, nobody knows your story. And see, if I walked away from that, man, and I got to tell you, that racked my brain for days, weeks, months. I thought to myself, my story.
Mhm.
Never saved a cat from a burning tree. Haven't been on TV. I got no rags to riches story. Didn't grow up poor. Didn't grow up with like a silver spoon, but grew up in a good family. What's my story? And it's amazing because I finally, to say that I know exactly what it is, I think I'm telling it now and not right here in this podcast, but I say the podcast is part of it. I say that if I look at past experiences, it's part of it. But I also look and say, from a social media and the brand awareness, and not just social, being out in a group of people,
Mhm.
connecting with somebody like yourself, and looking at the passion we both have for being on two wheels together, the stories we could sit around over some adult beverages. We could go
Mhm.
on for days telling stories, I'm sure, and they'd be
Sure.
amazing stories. In your experiences, we talk about storytelling. Um, what role does that really play in building a strong brand identity? Fostering meaningful connections with local audiences, and I guess maybe even moreover, the bigger question might be like, how do I figure out, just in short here, I know this is a loaded question, but how do I figure out what my story is
Mhm.
that I'd want to share with people?
Yeah. Well, it's important that you know your story. I think most of us come to that through a couple of things. Some life experience, some point of impact that we look back and go, wow, I was headed here and that thing happened and it forced me here, and it was a better direction. I learned a lot from that. That
Yeah.
could be an interaction you had with a mentor. It could, for a lot of people, there's something that happened in their life, traumatic or not, that really kind of reset their community. It was a person that they met. It was someone who believed in them. It was something that they did, a skill that they built. I'll tell you how I got to my story. Um, and it was, I was probably like most 20-year-olds at the time, maybe 20-year-olds today. I was completely arrogant, completely full of Stephen Foster, with no real capability to back it up. And I went in for a job interview in the newspaper industry, because that's where I built that was my first career. I was a journalist. And I wanted that job bad, David. I wanted it really bad. And part of the job was to be a photographer, a news photographer, still camera photographer. Now, you have to know kind of that I've already played my hand on the age. I grew up before digital cameras. So I grew up where there was actually a 35 millimeter or a 120 format camera that actually had something called film in it.
Yeah.
That film had to be extracted and had to be processed and developed in a dark room. I didn't know how to do that. Fortunately, my brother, who's a career military officer, was a great photographer. And so the night before I went for that job, we practiced film developing in his kitchen. We set up a dark room and popped out the little 35 millimeter, took the pictures, went through the process of the developer, hung it up, dried it. It was there. Crash course in kitchen photography development, and man, I was ready. So I went in, I sat down, I did the interview. Man, I rocked it. The gentleman who was interviewing me was the publisher and editor. His name was Colonel Ned Humphreys. He was a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, full bird colonel, and I had him in the palm of my hand. And he sent me out on an assignment right there. Said, "There's a camera over there." It was a high school baseball game. I'll never forget it. He sent me out though with a Yashica 120, which is a vertical camera. And I played my card. I was working on a 35 film. So I go out, it's no problem. You look in the viewfinder, you take the picture. I'm gonna cut to the chase. Came back, went into the dark room, in the dark, opening the camera. I'm trying to feel around for that little metal canister of film, and it's not in there. There's this wooden thing, and I can't figure out what it is. And about 30 minutes in, I know I'm not going to, it's not happening. So I did the only thing I could do. I turned the light on.
Oh, no.
Completely, in my arrogant mind, I'm pretty fast here. I'm just going to click it on real fast. I'm going to figure it out. Long story short, film's exposed, complete disaster. I'm busted. I got to go out. So, of course, I was honest, right? No, I went, "Colonel Ned, I don't know what happened. The film was terrible." It's like, "Look, it's exposed." He sat me down. He said, "Young man, you're completely full of shit." He goes, "I knew the moment you sat down, you had no idea what you were talking about. And I wanted to see how far you play it out." He goes, "I've never had anyone actually go get the camera and go out and come back. You're playing on a whole different level of arrogance and entitlement." I mean, he's just humbling me. And I'm sitting there going, busted. I was sinking lower in the seat. And I got up to leave, and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, I'm done. He goes, "No, you're not done. You have a job. I'm gonna hire you."
Nice.
But I'm gonna tell you three things.
Yeah.
And this is my story.
Yep.
If you don't know something, ask. If you need help, then find somebody who can help you. And third, change the thing that makes you lie. And I went home and I told that story to my older brother, and he couldn't believe it. And I look back on those lessons that Colonel Ned taught me. And so my story has always been, I am not too knowledgeable, too smart, too entitled to ever ask for help, ever. There's a lot of stuff Stephen Foster doesn't know. I am definitely not the smartest person in this room today. I'm rarely the smartest person in the room. So I'm okay for asking for help.
Then you're in the right room, right?
Yeah, because we're all learning. And I always learned from that moment that we come into this life and we leave this life with one thing, our name. And I protect that now. I don't lie about it. I want to be fully transparent. I want to let people know that this is who I am, and I'm here to help where we can. But I don't know everything. We can work it together. And so for me, that was the story. That was my story, is to just, I wanted to always be the best at what I could be. I always took the time to learn it, to practice it. I'm still doing it at age 68. I'm not done learning. The day that I'm done learning, there'll be some kind of celebration of life somewhere for me, I'm sure. But I want to learn and I want to grow and I want to meet new people who are way smarter than me. And I want to have experiences like this where I can share what I know and learn from what you know, and hopefully we can push that out there, and people can pick that up and go, yeah, I want to do that too. I want to take it to the next level. That's my story.
I love that, man. What a nice segue there. That is very cool. I like that. I like the way you brought that up. I like the story behind it. I love the learning from it. And to everybody tuned in today, as we talk about how to increase your brand awareness in the communities where you live, work, and play, we've talked a lot today. We've gotten to know Stephen. We've gotten to hear his stories. He's told us about how to get the words out there. He's told us how to get involved. He's told us how to find our ride, find our tribe. And through even the question around storytelling, which we just went through, really how to be out there and connect with others and hold those conversations, because the more we're having the conversations, the more we're sharing our story, the more we're getting out in front of people, the more we're getting involved in that community. And it could be from raising funds. It could be from doing good. It could be from just being present in the moment. And all of that is going to help you really, again, increase that brand awareness. What opportunities come out of it? The opportunities could be to get involved in something good. They could be the next deal. The point is we need to get out there. And Stephen just really, and Stephen, it's been a fantastic show. Just listening and hearing the storytelling the entire way through, and seeing how that all molded together to really answer this question of how to increase brand awareness in the communities.
Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity. That's what we're here for. We're here to help other people, help them in business, help them in their life, help them personally, professionally, and to learn from them as well, so that we grow. So again, keep doing what you're doing, my friend, because the world needs more of this. It needs more positivity. It needs a space where people can come together and go, I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be the smartest guy or gal in the room. I just have to be intentional about showing up. So thanks for the opportunity to show up.
Well, I'll tell you, and I appreciate the the plug on the behalf of our event, because that is very much about what it's all about. It's about people coming together. It's a smaller group of people coming together to solve problems, to talk about challenges, to explore opportunities, to really be able to be open and honest with one another, be able to be heard, have problems solved. That's our big goal. Now, I ask you, you go through your days, you do what you do. You seem to make a ton of impact out there, which I congratulate you, commend you, and thank you for. How, at the end of the day, how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Well, what a great question. I think that, there are some days when you just know you swung for the fences and hit the home run, right? You can see it in the eyes of the people that you served. You saw somebody grow. You helped somebody get where they needed to be. For me, and those are all good metrics, but for me, I want to spend, I judge my day as success by, again, how much collaboration, how much interaction did I have beyond me, and even beyond what I do for work, right? Whether that's consulting or facilitating or whatever. It's, was I able to bring people together? Were we able to share a powerful story? Did we create purposeful, meaningful engagement? And that's, I can see that I can see that in the faces of the people that I'm working with. And if I can see that, and I can see at the end of the day, they're excited and they're ready to saddle up again. That is what we want, right? We want to finish the day, but we got to get back on that bike the next day, and we want people to saddle back up with us. Then I know that, I've done what I was supposed to do that day. And sometimes that's a big thing, and sometimes it's a small thing. Sometimes it's something as small as someone coming in going, man, thanks for your help today. And I say that's a small thing. That is actually the biggest thing in life that you could do, is get someone to say, hey, thanks for your help today. That really meant a lot to me. That you explained that. I understood that. You helped me with that. You connected me with someone. So saddle up every day, roll on that throttle, go full throttle. Don't be afraid to fail. Another one of your podcasts, you talk about, hey, life's all about failures.
That's
Fail.
right.
Shoot, I've built a business on failing. It's a good business, right?
Haven't we all? Haven't we all, though?
Anyone who tells you they
Right?
haven't failed is
Yeah.
just lying through their teeth, right? That's the only way that you do learn, that you do grow. And so, yeah, fail fantastically, and
Yeah.
then look at why you failed and pick yourself up and say, oh,
Right.
well, I'm not going to do that again. And just keep moving, man. Keep moving, keep riding, um, keep that momentum going. And you'll be surprised how many people you attract to your ride, how much better your ride is, how much better you get at doing that thing you do, whatever it is that you do. That's good stuff, man. And it's just out there waiting.
This has been fantastic, brother. Where can people pick up a copy of your book? Where can they learn more about you, follow you? Where can we send people?
Well, there are a couple ways. You can go to my website, which is www.foster-fathom.com. The book is available in Barnes and Noble and Amazon. You can kind of get it anywhere. Social media, just type in Stephen G. Foster, you'll find me. I'm happy to engage with any members of your audience. If you want to reach out and talk about wherever you are and where you want to be, happy to be part of that ride as well.
Stephen, this has been a fantastic conversation, my friend. I thank you very, very much for helping us add a tremendous amount of value today here on the MindShare podcast. And I thank you very, very much for everything you're doing, as well as the time you spent with us today.
Thank you, and I'll sign off with you with my typical sign off is go full throttle.
Let's go. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
You are either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you are there, be sure to download your free copy of our goal setting worksheet to help you conquer 2024 and become the next version of you that you truly want to be. Or might as well to get yourself registered for our live in-person small group MindShare Mastermind taking place on May 26th through the 29th in Mont Tremblant, Quebec. Small group, again, live in person. We're going to be solving big problems. Make sure you get yourself on that list. There's not a lot of spots left, so let's go. For all inquiries, of course, just get in touch with us. And of course, don't forget to leave a review at www.ratethispodcast.com/MindShare101. As always, we'd be super grateful if you could throw us a quick 5 stars. Let it a little comment about how much you love the show. Much appreciated, of course, in advance. Connect with me on Facebook at MindShare101, on TikTok at MindShare101, and on Instagram at David Greenspan101. Just before we sign off, I do want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems, REM Magazine, and OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, for sponsoring this episode of the MindShare podcast. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you all for tuning in.